This is the entrance to Dogtown, the new district introduced in Phantom Liberty, the first expansion of Cyberpunk 2077. You zoom past these guards and squeeze under the garage door and the expansion storyline begins. But hold on a second, what if you don't own the expansion? What's stopping a player from walking into Dogtown? Are you ready to uncover some game design secrets? In this video, I'll share 4 steps game designers often use making expansion content for an open world game. Hi, I'm candlesan, game director at Blizzard Entertainment. I've been making video games professionally for over 25 years, and I've taught game design at the Laguna College of Art and Design. Note, this YouTube channel is separate from my work at Blizzard. It is a personal channel where I share game design and game development lessons. In making Phantom Liberty, CD Projekt Red had 3 distinct groups to consider. First, there's the returning crowd who played Cyberpunk 2077 and want to focus primarily on the new expansion content. Secondly, the immersive role players who want to play with both the base game and the expansion in a new campaign from the beginning. And third, the newcomers who are coming fresh into Cyberpunk 2077 but aren't yet ready to buy Phantom Liberty. How do game developers add to a game in a way that's friendly to all players, whether they own the expansion or not? How do you teach returning players how the new systems work? How can game developers design content for an open world game to support not just one expansion, but multiple into the future? CD Projekt Red has said they're not making any more expansions, so this last question will be a bonus. Let's take a look at a 4-step plan to design an expansion to address these challenges. Step 1. Create a brand new district, just for the expansion content. In the base game, CD Projekt Red created a large open world game. It was divided into 7 districts. Just walking around each of these districts, you can feel the unique personality of each area. If we look at the city center, you get these massive skyscrapers. But then if we pop over to Westbrook, it has a Japanese-inspired nightlife. Each district is a unique cocktail of landmarks, characters, stories, and chaos. So when game designers want to plan an expansion, should the team add a brand new district with its own vibe, citizens, quests, and gigs? Or should the team spread some new content across all of the districts? For an open world game, the answer is to add a brand new district, like Dogtown. You might be wondering, why add a new district rather than shaking up the gameplay everywhere? Because shaking up everything is risky. In addition to the complexity and rework, you also risk introducing major bugs into the game by touching all the content that's already built. Case in point, let's take a look at the airdrops in Phantom Liberty. Airdrops are a new game system in which containers drop from the sky, trailing behind red smoke. You can see the red smoke from far away, allowing you to use that smoke as a navigation guide to run to the location of the airdrop. Once you get there, you clear out some enemies, hack into the container, and get some powerful rewards. But the airdrops weren't added to the first 7 districts of the game. Why not? Well, for starters, the airdrops don't make sense for the lore of the rest of the world. It's easy to picture airdrops crashing down in a rundown, lawless area like Dogtown, but it would make less sense to have these airdrops crash down in the middle of, say, the financial district. Even if we were to ignore the lore reasons, consider the actual authoring of the map. The airdrops need some space in the world for the event to take place. Since Dogtown is a brand new district, the game developers can design it to accommodate all of the potential airdrop locations. But trying to build airdrops into the existing 7 districts? That would be a logistical nightmare. The game designers would need to account for all the existing quests, NPC interactions, patrol routes in the area, stuff like that. Even if you did make all the alterations, what if somebody is playing without the expansion? Do they just inherit empty space where the airdrop is supposed to be? And if you're making a game and want to plan for future expansions, consider this. Each future expansion that alters the outdoor world will increase the risk that the mechanics from one expansion overlap with the mechanic from one of the other expansions you've made. Pairing the new mechanics tightly to its new district encapsulates that complexity, which helps to reduce bugs and unintended interactions well into the future. So step 1, create a new district as a home for the expansion content. That brings us to step 2. Provide a gateway in and out of the district. If you own the Phantom Liberty expansion, you access the new Dogtown district by crawling under a slightly open garage door. But what if you don't own the expansion? Well, then the garage door is simply closed and non-interactable. It's a simple but very effective way to ensure the game feels complete, whether a player owns Phantom Liberty or not. This highlights another advantage of putting the bulk of expansion content inside a new district. The game designers have a clear, bright line where the base game ends and the expansion begins. As the storyline for Dogtown progresses, a player can unlock the ability to drive straight through the main Dogtown gate rather than going under the garage door. If you don't own the expansion, then, much like the garage door, this gate is simply closed and inaccessible. Suppose you previously completed Cyberpunk 2077 and now you're coming back for the expansion. What's that experience like? CD Projekt Red did a fantastic job welcoming back new players. When you launch the game for the first time after purchasing the expansion, a window pops up on the left side of the screen confirming that, yeah, the expansion is indeed recognized. Then, once you're in the game, one of the main Phantom Liberty characters named Songbird contacts you. Songbird reaches out via a direct neural interface, so you don't even need to travel to a specific location to start the conversation. Songbird talks to you no matter where you are. Her quest gets inserted into your quest log, and the quest can't be declined or abandoned. Another super cool thing the game designers did is that the quest from Songbird is clearly marked as a Phantom Liberty quest. I love this detail, because you might be coming back to Cyberpunk after years of not playing. Maybe you don't remember how to move and shoot, let alone what quest you're on. By clearly marking a quest as Phantom Liberty, the game is giving the player warm, fuzzy feelings of reassurance that they are indeed experiencing the expansion content. This brings us to step 3. Adding a new character progression system. Shortly into the Songbird questline, she unlocks the relic tree. Before this point in the quest, your perk tree has just the 5 original perk trees of the base game: body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool. As you approach Dogtown and interact with Songbird, she unlocks the relic tree for you. In the same way the geography of Dogtown is contained within a single district, the new progression system of the relic tree is also self-contained within a single part of the game. The new progression system lives in a prominent UI spot. Putting it in a prominent UI spot is important because if it wasn't, players might forget that it's there. As game developers, anytime you're adding a new progression system to a game, it's important to think about not only how players will discover your progression system, but also how the players will be reminded of your system by interacting with it repeatedly over time. We have a new zone, Dogtown, a way to get into Dogtown, and a new character progression system, the relic tree. Step 4 is to connect the new district and the new character progression system together. In the case of Phantom Liberty, the player can unlock the perks in the relic tree by spending what's called relic points. But guess where you obtain these relic points? Well, from Dogtown, of course. Relic points are earned from special Militech terminals located inside of Dogtown. By putting the terminals in Dogtown, the game designers have created a closed-loop system. Unlock the relic tree at the start of Dogtown, earn relic points at the Militech restricted terminals inside of Dogtown, and then spend those points on the new relic tree. If you don't own Phantom Liberty, all systems are removed, but the rest of the game functions normally. This closed loop system is helpful not only to ensure the game functions well with and without the expansion, it also paves the way for the game designers to introduce new expansions in the future. I know I said earlier future expansions aren't planned, but it's easy to imagine how CD Projekt Red would design it if they did. For example, an expansion could add a new Battered Coast district to the game, and then limit access to the Battered Coast using a mechanism similar to the garage door we saw. We could also add a new character progression system. Let's imagine it's a new cyberware slot, and then the game designers can set it up so advancing that cyberware slot is done by completing objectives in the new Battered Coast district. It's a repeatable pattern for future expansions. Does this mean all new content must be separated off into a closed loop? No, definitely not. In fact, leading up to Phantom Liberty's release, CD Projekt Red published a helpful infographic detailing which content would be provided free for all players and which content would be part of the paid expansion. If you think about this list as a game developer, you can actually figure out how CD Projekt Red decided which content would go where. Almost everything in the free update is content that would have been harder not to give away, because it would mean having to maintain 2 separate rule sets. One for people who owned the expansion, and another for those who don't. For example, the designers redesigned the skill trees and perks. If the devs withheld this change from players who didn't have the expansion, the team would have had to maintain both the old skill tree and the new skill tree. It's actually easier to just add this feature for everybody and let the relic tree be a new addition. Pretty much all of the changes on the left side given to players for free would have meant maintaining 2 sets of data. The changes exclusive to the expansion listed on the right, on the other hand, are mostly gated behind either the entrance to Dogtown, its associated quests, or unlocking of the relic tree. So this is a 4-step plan for structuring expansion content in an open world game. If you're curious how you can give players a sense of autonomy and player agency in an open world game, you'll want to check out this other game design spotlight I did on Starfield. Happy game making!